Delighted to be joined by Jo Regan-Iles, Executive HR Director for Europe, the Middle East and Africa for TTEC, a global customer experience company. Jo is a commercial HR leader with an excellent track record of adding significant value to large corporate companies in all areas of HR and people strategy. So I'm delighted that she's joining me today, and Jo's going to share her knowledge and thoughts for the future of HR. So Jo, thank you for joining us. So I want to start with the big question, if that's okay. What do you think is the future of HR post-COVID-19?
Firstly, thanks very much, Eloise, for giving me the opportunity. So really good starting question. So I think, if we, rather than looking back, we need to look forward. So I think from a HR, strategy and HR function point of view, I think HR, lots of leaders have realised over the past couple of months how much they've, needed HR, realised the value of HR. So I think as we move forward at a HR function, it's really around now, supporting our business leaders in Q3 and Q4 and looking to the business plans of 2021. Now, some of that is going to be, unfortunately, looking at the size of the organisation, the shape of the organisation, looking at the organisation design of the company, and also looking at the skills and the roles that we need moving forward. So I see from a HR point of view moving forward, it's a really exciting time, and it's the time where we can really look at, where our companies are going to be in the coming months, and how can we support our senior teams with shaping the company moving forward.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think this is a time where HR have been really at the forefront of businesses, haven't they? They've been helping to lead and plan strategy to cope with the COVID-19 crisis and help people through this time. But the world of work's been transformed in the last 3-4 months. What new agile working practices do you think will be adopted from this time?
So you're absolutely right. So in the last couple of months, I call it like the light switch went off. So one day we were all in our offices, whether they were small, medium or large, in cities, etc. And then all of a sudden it was like, no, it's not safe to work in the office anymore. So very quickly we all had to adopt to that work at home, strategy. So we've had work at home for many years. But not to the extent that we have now. So I think, I'm doing lots of reading and research at the moment around, what is that new norm going to be? I see different models that are working really well. So I spoke to a company last week, and what they were doing, that they'd asked for volunteers to come into their office in Birmingham, actually. They'd asked for volunteers to come in and try it, and then share and communicate ideas with the rest of the team, which I thought was brilliant. I've seen ideas of rotas, where some people will do like 1 week on, 1 week off, as an example. And then I've seen some organisations that have been in the press this week that are actually, communicating that they're going for a full work at home model. I think a lot of organisations, have been great on communicating with their employees. We have done lots and lots of surveys about how they're feeling at home, etc. So I think it's really organisations, and HR thinking, what's best for our company, what's best for our people. And as some companies unfortunately are having to downsize, perhaps downsizing some of their estate property, might be able to in the future save roles and things like that. So I do see a hybrid model. I do see a model where, we will perhaps still have small offices somewhere. But I think we've proved, in HR and business, I think we've proved that, people can be successful working at home. They're still delivering, they're still performing, they're engaged and motivated. But most of the research I read is that people miss that interaction. So I think we've done our best with bringing it alive with Zooms like we are today. But sometimes, meeting face to face, if it's safe to do so, I think is still something. Now, whether that's something that we've all just fallen into, or whether the new norm is this, I think the next few months will be interesting.
Yeah, I do as well. And I think from feedback that I've been hearing from yourself and for other professionals like yourself, that some people have done really well with their productivity working from home,
mm-hmm.
and it's worked really, really well. And it would be
Mm-hmm.
a shame for those people to have to come back into a work environment and actually their productivity.
Yeah.
Whereas other people, like you say, have really missed the social interaction of work, and there are those conversations that are much easier to have on a face-to-face basis, or even having a coffee, isn't it? So,
no, definitely.
but I do think it will be a very interesting times ahead. So obviously HR, like we said, has been at the forefront of this crisis and been instrumental in the people strategy and how people have coped over the last 3 months. How do you think HR professionals need to lead in the future to stay at the forefront of businesses and have a seat at the table?
No, and I think you know it has been a testing time for a lot of HR professionals. You know, I think I've always been very fortunate because I consider myself to be extremely commercially focused. So I think, you know, for HR leaders moving forward and HR professionals, it really is understanding the business inside out and understanding the decisions that you make, the proposals that you make have a cost to them. And sometimes, you know, well, I think sometimes, you know, we can't always have what we want with regards to HR strategies and programs and things like that. But I think moving forward, we've probably, you know, for at least the next 12 months, you know, got to be mindful that, you know, the budgets aren't going to be there. Some of the incentives and initiatives that they would have liked to have done may not be there because companies have had to make some really tough decisions, such as, you know, communicating that organisations aren't going to be doing a pay increase this year. Perhaps the bonus schemes are finished and things like that. So I think, you know, from HR professionals, we need to be much more aligned with like our finance and our teams around, you know, the budgets and what things look like. I think as well, you know, from moving forward, you know, I think you touched on earlier, you know, I think we've all proved that we're very agile as business leaders moving forward. So I think, you know, there is a need over the coming months to really work on, you know, I would say, you know, reviewing a lot of our policies. A lot of our policies are probably more office based. So moving forward, we've got to have a much more flexible contract. I've seen lots of things where people are saying, actually, shall we have a 37.5-hour contract? Do what hours you like. So as an example, you could work a few hours on a Sunday morning if the children are out, as an example, and then you could have time off in the week or whatever. So I think we just need to be flexible in our thoughts. And, you know, we've demonstrated, you know, how agile we can be. So I think we just need to be very mindful as well that, you know, businesses are going through a really tough time. So they're going to need our support in lots of different ways.
Absolutely, I totally agree. So if the future, in your opinion, is that there's going to be more flexible working, there's going to be potentially more remote working, and that HR need to be more commercial, what do you feel are the next steps HR professionals need to take to create this positive future?
I think a lot of it is around the employee value proposition. So I think, you know, and employee branding, because, you know, previously, pre all of this, you know, a lot of organisations could have attraction strategies, as an example, which were based on, as an example, you know, being based in the centre of London, you know, having a really nice head office function. Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people say, oh, I want to go and work for ABC. They're right in the city. I've just graduated. I want to do this, that, and the other. So I think from a HR and from a recruitment point of view, it's around, you know, so what is the organisation's USP? So why do companies want to go and work for you, as an example? Because, you know, everyone's going to be working at home. So you can't say, as an example, you know, it's a 2-minute walk from St Pancras or something like that. It's got to be around, you know, what are the benefits of working for the organisation? So I think there's a lot around, you know, the employee value proposition, you know, the branding, you know, and employee engagement. And again, to your point, I think, you know, moving forward, you know, people are looking for a more flexible work life. So, you know, if you can offer, to your point, you know, a flexible working arrangement, you know, if you can also, you know, we've seen some great stories during this pandemic around, you know, people doing lots and lots of self-learning. I see it a lot, which is really good. So, you know, perhaps encouraging our people with some great learning programs, some great training opportunities to reskill themselves. So I think there's some of the things that I'll definitely be looking at moving forward, because, you know, sometimes we can't say it's our fantastic office. It's got to be around, you know, come and work for us and this is why.
And I think for a lot of people, the reason why their purpose and their values need to be aligned with the business, don't they? For people to really connect with the business and think, this is what I want to do. So it's then expanding on those in the value proposition.
Yeah, I think so. And I also think as well that during all of this, you know, companies have done, you know, the companies that have done really good job of communicating, involving, engaging their employees, you know, I think perhaps if people were thinking as an example, oh, you know, I might look to move roles, I think a lot of people might think, well, actually, when we had really tough times, my organisation really cared for me. They understood that I had a challenge with homeschooling. They understood that I found it difficult returning when I've been from furlough. So I think a lot of people will actually take a step back and think, well, do you know what? You know, I'm working for an organisation that cares about me. They've demonstrated. Why would I leave?
Yeah. So, do you think automation features in a post-COVID COVID-19 HR strategy?
Yeah, I do a lot, to be honest with you, because I think, you know, as we look at the future, you know, if I look at HR as well, you know, if I look at, from an example, you know, recruitment, we've still been doing an awful lot of recruitment for lots of temporary contracts, which is really good. So gone are the days where we'd be doing that face to face. You know, we've used Microsoft Teams, we've had team rooms, we've had, you know, 25 people having interviews and things like that in one room. So I think that digitalization is definitely going to move forward for recruitment. And I think from a HR point of view as well, you know, if companies are having to make some tough decisions and reduce headcount, then I think, you know, as HR professionals, we need to look at, okay, what could we automate? So, you know, what are some of the administration functions that we can actually automate? And then that allows the HR business partners then in the HR teams to then spend that time, as I talked about earlier, you know, shaping and working with the business and seen as that value add. Because in HR, there's always going to be that level of administration. So, you know, people want to get paid on time, you know, there's processes to follow and things like that. But more that we can do to automate that frees up the time of those HR people to be able to interact and work closely with the business. Easier said than done, but I think it's definitely a strategy.
Yeah, it's always easier said than done.
Yeah.
That's brilliant, Jo. Thank you so much for your time today and your insights to the future. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for sharing.
No, thank you. And thanks for the HR huddle as well. I love it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.